As soon as South Park announced they're joining the Panderverse special, where all the characters are going to be race and gender swapped, you knew they were going to take some shots at woke Hollywood, just like they always do on both sides of every single issue. But I don't think people expected Kathleen Kennedy to be such a big target of their ire, but she was maybe the person that got the most screen time in this special. She is the reason that Disney decided to use the Panderverse so much and opened a hole in the Panderverse and, screwed the multiverse up, all of this stuff. Kathleen Kennedy was the one. She's the one that ruined all these Disney movies. And of course, people have been blasting her, people have been mocking her, people have been making fun of her for the past several days since this special came out, including one of her former employees, Gina Carano. Gina Carano blasts Kathleen Kennedy after unflattering South Park portrayal. And this is when she actually retweeted the Geeks and Gamers tweet that clipped out part of this. Basically, the explanation as to how Kathleen Kennedy decided to use the Panderstone and fight back against toxic fans. She put out this paragraph on Twitter explaining to everybody just the type of person that Kathleen Kennedy is. This is the part where KK demands any YouTubers get censored off YouTube for sharing and laughing at this hilarious episode. She'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option because the ratio she'll receive. Then have her publicist ghouls make sure Variety and Hollywood Reporter run hit pieces about the South Park creators and their families, smearing their names through every useful idiot she has under her thumb or who sell their soul to work for Lucasfilm. She'll activate her online mob to repeat the South Park creators are racist, bigots, transphobes, and demand the South Park creators publicly apologize by only using words she approves of. And finally, she'll demand they subject themselves to a re-education course of 45 people in the LGBTQ community Zoom call to sit there and listen to how badly they got their feelings hurt all over a little boop of a South Park episode. But maybe, just maybe, the jig is up, right? She destroys Kathleen Kennedy. Obviously, a lot of this is coming from personal experience of what she went through. And a lot of it is stuff she hadn't necessarily revealed before. And then, just a few hours ago, she decided to double down on this because a dude who's constantly talking about us and watching our videos and has like a little podcast, he decides to respond. And he says this, in case you are wondering, Gina Carano has lost her goddamned mind, and screenshots that. Gina responds to him. This is a long, long response. And some of this stuff, like I said, I've been aware of for a little while, had gone down behind the scenes. But it's not until now that Gina decided to make a lot of this stuff public. And here it is. Do you always call a woman crazy just because she has more firsthand experience than you and says something you don't like? Bit misogynistic, don't you think? Tisk, tisk. Knowing that male feminists like this dude, that'll really trigger him. Curious if your overlords pay you, or do y'all just go ahead and shove your whole head straight up their ass for free? I'm guessing for free. Might want to come out for some fresh air. For added context, not just for you, but for the people reading, one of the things your overlords asked me to do is talk about people at Disney Lucasfilm, right? Listen to this. One of the things your overlords asked me to do was to unfollow certain accounts because they said bad things about Kathleen Kennedy. That was a huge red flag for me. I wonder what type of people that would be. What type of people that Gina Carano was following that may have criticized Disney Star Wars or Kathleen Kennedy. They didn't want her following them on social media. That was a direct request from Lucasfilm to Gina Carano. We want you to unfollow these people that talk bad about Disney and Lucasfilm. Well, Gina Carano didn't take very kindly to that request. That was a huge red flag for me. If I were the head of one of the most powerful entertainment companies in the world, I know that haters come with the territory, and then maybe the haters are expressing their thoughts because they actually care. Caring's a good thing because as long as they care, we still have something to work with. Maybe we can win their hearts back eventually, and maybe they do have some good things to add to the conversation, which they do and did. And then at the very least, they're still buying the product. Look at Mando Season 1. The healing had begun. Now, you guys probably know if you followed along with me during that time, I certainly had my criticisms of Mandalorian Season 1. I thought it was better than some of the other shit they'd put out, but I had big problems with some of the structure, things like that. Nevertheless, I think the vast majority of people enjoyed Mando Season 1 and were interested to see what happened going forward. If you're a proper good leader, you learn how to embrace and communicate, not dictate and silence, and demand your actors and directors unfollow and shame more than half your fan base and the people who have stuck with that franchise for decades. This is Gina Carano not only standing up for herself, but also for Star Wars fans. That's what's happening in this tweet right here. Side note, don't say the Force is female and then allow only the men to express their political views online. Shout out Pedro Pascal. In fact, just drop the ridiculous phrase completely. One of the problems your overlords are having now is that they've made a lot of people completely stop caring about one of the most beloved franchises in history, all by bullying, pushing aggressive agendas, and trying to silence the people criticizing them. How are they able to tell stories if they don't understand when the ones they identify with are the Empire? They're literally trying to squash the little guys, the rebellion. No wonder the storytelling's struggling. They fired and dehumanized people like me who did absolutely nothing wrong. All the virtue signal to people like you, the yes men. But yes men, unfortunately for you and them, do not drive culture. Maybe they were banking on the kids picking up the slack, but one of the best things about this franchise is passing it from generation to generation to share. The competition is too high to throw out something as valuable as that. Why would one generation pass it on when you've disrespected and thrown them away? Your overlords tried to hide behind the two opposing fan bases fighting each other instead of taking responsibility. So they encouraged the hate, all while virtue signaling they're standing up for minorities, but instead using them as a shield and weapon. Funny enough, just how our government works. Interesting. They think people will forget. And yes, maybe they will. But for this moment, they have heard the people's voice and it shook them. They're choosing to stick with their weak leadership who couldn't handle YouTubers saying mean things online. When all it would have taken is a true leader to step in, take the reins, take some responsibility, stop discriminating, apologize about the things you've done wrong, step completely out of politics, be truly inclusive, and they'd be back in business. Until then, they're stuck with you, the yes men, and their plummeting stock. I'm not saying I'm right on all fronts, but I'm open-hearted and refuse to discriminate based off the powerful people telling me how to think and act. And if there were something I needed to apologize for, I would have in a heartbeat, but I didn't say or do anything wrong. People come up to me daily to shake my hand and thank me for taking a stand, even people who think differently. One thing is true. Good leadership makes for a better world, leading to healthier and happy people and better opportunity. Look around. We're watching the devastating effects of what bad leadership can do worldwide. A lot to digest in this thing. But yeah, it's true. Known for a while that Gina Carano was directly asked to unfollow certain people on social media because they didn't like Disney Star Wars. They said mean things about Disney Star Wars. Gina Carano, just like she wasn't going to take all the other bullshit on her knees, she stood up and said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to unfollow them. I'm going to follow them. Maybe you should start listening to some of the things they have to say. Well, that obviously didn't happen, did it? But Gina Carano putting Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, Disney Star Wars, and Disney Star Wars shills on blast. It's fucking glorious to see. I would say she's been pretty reserved about everything that happened over the past couple years. One, in all likelihood, right? You leave the show, it's terrible what they did to her, but she still knows people that work there. She still knows actors and people that work there and doesn't want to fucking cause a bunch of problems. But you sit there and you're pretty pissed off about everything that happened. And finally, when you see everybody destroying Kathleen Kennedy the way she deserves to be destroyed and has deserved to be destroyed for a long time, you got to jump in. And then some people, the very same people that have helped this franchise fall into such decline, come out there and say, oh, she's just lost her mind. And you just got to fucking destroy little pussies like this. Gina Carano puts Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm and Disney Star Wars shills on blast, and it's glorious to see.